Down to Art, conversations about the creative process.
With your host, Christy Gordon.
As many of you know, my new book, Become a Great Artist, is now available for pre-order. And right now, if you pre-order a copy of my book, I'll give you free access to my new online course, Color and Composition in Art, which is regularly at a value of $160. So click the show notes now to pre-order a copy of the book and get free access to the course. And today we'll be talking with Sam Lewis about how to make good YouTubes. Sam's YouTube account, Slew, has a huge number of followings, 340,000 followers, and his videos are so entertaining and informative at the same time. And I've been trying to grow my YouTube account for about a year now, and it's barely budging. So I'm very excited to talk to Sam and find out more about his strategies for YouTube. Well, welcome, Sam. It's so good to have you.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Christy.
I'm so excited to talk to you. I've been looking at your YouTubes and they're mind-blowing. They're so professional. They're so slick and entertaining and informative, but also so slick. I mean, I'm shocked. I'm overwhelmed.
Thank you. Thank you. You're so nice.
Aw. And I've been to your studio before too, and I got a little bit of a glimpse of some of the setup. And I know that you're doing, a really professional job. Like you have multiple cameras, you have good lighting, you have all of the things. I guess before we dive into that, how long have you been on YouTube?
Ooh, good question. I like to tell people I was sort of like raised on YouTube. And I always say that, and then I feel bad for my mom if she ever listens. But I've been like a diehard YouTube fan since the early days before I started painting. So I always was in whatever my interests were, skateboarding, video games, I would like dive deep on YouTube, see other people do that. So when I got into painting, which was a while ago, started with graffiti, it was just another thing that I was going to do. I was going to make videos about it. Long story short, but I mean, I've been doing YouTube. That was your question, right? How long have I been doing YouTube?
No, it's interesting what you're saying. Me too, about being raised on YouTube. That's really interesting.
Yeah, I was just like really into it. I was one of those kids who and even now, I watch Netflix and movies, but I was just really captivated by the internet and people sharing any niche, anything in the world. And now it's like very normal. YouTube is just like the world, but you can learn anything. So that was just part of my childhood, and it just snowballed and only got more intense. And then I wanted to be a YouTuber. Like I dropped out of like 3 universities and was doing the YouTube like pretty seriously, almost like a full part-time job. That was back in 2000, like 14, 15. And I was doing it like very seriously, making no money. The same channel I have now. And then it just kept getting more, I just kept getting more passionate and wanting to do it. And I was like really into it within the art realm, doing art and posting videos about my artwork. And back then it was a lot of graffiti and street art and murals. But then, time went on and I kept getting into it. I just kept doing more and more. And here we are. So it's really been the same thing for years and years. But yeah, a little feel.
It is so interesting, this idea of being raised on YouTube. I actually have loved so many YouTube channels that have had a huge impact on my life. And I really wanted to be a YouTuber too. And every time, I've tried, I have not been. It's like I post a video and I'm like, yes, I'm gonna be a YouTube video, and then nobody watches it.
Yeah, well, I will say the times have changed. Not to get all doom and gloom, but I think I got a little lucky in turn, and the world was different in even 2012, 13. YouTube was still, it was popular, but not like now. Now it's like saturated, the conglomerate of every single person ever. Obviously, the advent of TikTok and Instagram Reels. But when I started it more seriously in 2014, 15, it was popular, but also for the art umbrella specifically, there weren't many people doing that. So I kind of got lucky in the sense that I was in a more niche audience, and I was one of only a few other artists going really hard and the vlogging and sharing the creative projects, documenting really intensely. And so I kind of got lucky like that. And even now though, but it's the same thing. It's and we could talk about the depths and despair of the algorithm. But even now, it's hard to get views, even for me, and I'm still considered, I mean, some people consider me big, but in terms of the whole, I'm still like a relatively small channel in terms of like monthly viewership. And it's still a grind out here, but I would say never give up. And, you're a great artist and people want to see your work. And it's hard to get people click on 10-minute, 12-minute videos, but you're still a YouTuber if you're uploading videos, baby. That's the goal. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you for that. And the algorithms are like interesting. It's so true that sometimes you just catch the wave. I mean, you've done more than that. Your videos are seriously amazing, but you're right about how sometimes like it's easier to grow at certain times and harder to grow at other times. And um, but what have you discovered as far as like things that the algorithm likes? Like, for example, what's a good length for like a YouTube video, do you find?
Oh man, you're asking good questions, and I don't have the answers. People think they have the answers, or I think I do, and
Hmm.
you never know. There's no rhyme or reason. I mean, there's a lot of analytics, but I don't know. I mean, like it's so funny, and you've probably heard other people say this. Like, I think I'll have a really good video, a really good painting, really good video, thumbnail, title, and then the video will flop, and then vice versa. I'll have like a more not serious video. Every video I make I like, but it's not as intense. It's took me less time. Maybe the painting or idea wasn't as giant epic, and that video does really well. And so I don't think there's any rhyme or reason. I've been told that longer videos, even with all this short form, longer videos maybe are better because if you're talking about retention, we're getting very technical here.
No, it's good. I want technical. This
But
is good.
retention rate. So if you make an 8-minute video and people watch 40% or 50% of videos on average, depending on each creator, but for me, it's like 40 to 50%. So if you make an 8-minute video, half of that's 4 minutes. But if you make a 20-minute video, half of that, is more 10 minutes. So even if they're watching even a shorter percentage on a longer video, they're still on YouTube, the platform for longer. And that's what YouTube likes. Is that
That's
true in
interesting.
practice? I don't know, but you know what I mean. So that's like,
I
uh,
do, and actually that's really interesting because I'm always trying to figure out the differences between the algorithms too. And with Instagram, it's like slightly different because it's good to make a slightly shorter video, for the reels or whatever, because
yeah,
it's the way it like figures out whether it's a good video is percentage of watch time. So if it's like a 20-second video and people watch for 15 seconds, it's like, wow, that's pretty good. It's
yep.
almost whatever, 75%. But that's really interesting that on YouTube, it's actually more about the watch time. So, like in terms of retentions, so it just adds up the numbers and thinks, oh, that's good. They were on YouTube for this amount of time or whatever. Um,
I mean, don't take my word for it. I have no idea. That's just what I've heard, and it makes sense rationally.
yeah,
And I'm sure there's a lot of other things that go into it. Like thumbnail and title is arguably the most important, which is so sad because like you could be an amazing artist, you can be Steven Spielberg, you can make the best video, but if you're not getting people to click on it, if there's no incentive to even just click the stupid little thumbnail thing, then there's no hope. So it's turned into this world. And again, this is a difference of back in the day. There wasn't as much clickbaity things
yeah,
like incentivize people to click the video, but now it's like, you really got to lean into it. And it's one of the bummer things as like an artist who like I'm trying to be taken seriously as an artist, right? And I also love YouTube. I'm also a YouTuber, but I want to like I don't want to just be like painting the girlfriend of Tesla or something like that, and like which
yeah.
probably would do better, probably get more views, but you sell your soul a little, and I don't know. It's all just a big giant game, but I don't know what I'm talking about, so don't trust me.
Well, you're doing really well though, and I think with all of these things, it's like we just try stuff and see what works or whatever.
Right.
I think you brought up a really good point though, like this balance between like being, a professional artist and like, being, yeah, kind of putting yourself out there in that way or whatever, and then also like managing to make it entertaining and have it like work for YouTube. And I think you found like a really good balance. I think what's interesting about your videos is that they're like informative. So people will actually learn stuff, which brushes you're using, which oil paint, just things that you've discovered along your journey. And then they're also, yeah, kind of entertaining. Like which is cool because it's not like you're like all egotistical, like, yes, this is how it should be done. You're kind of like, oh, this is, I don't know, it's just more lighthearted. And I like the balance you kind
Thanks.
I
Yeah,
didn't
I never want to be
know.
taken. Well, I think for everyone, I don't think anyone should take themselves too seriously unless you're like Da Vinci level, Caravaggio or any discipline you're in. But I think, I talk about this like intention pie chart, and it's like
Hmm.
in your life, but or we could specify like with a YouTube video, what's the pie chart of intentions? It's like I want it to do well, I want it to get views because that's part of my business. I want it to be informative because that's adds value. I want it to be entertaining or funny because that's like personable and it's fun for me. I want it to be, a cool painting project, and it's all of these things
Totally.
merged into the pie chart, and each slice of that pie can be different for different videos, but you can do sort of everything all at once. You could be like a goofy weirdo, you could be a serious painter, you could be a quasi teacher, you could be like a comedian or a weirdo, whatever. So I think, and also that maybe at the detriment of my YouTube channel, I do so many different things and I'm kind of inconsistent within the content and the context of my channel, but it's selfish for me in the way that I could just do whatever I want whenever I want. And like I just make the videos I would want to see when I was younger and the videos that get me excited. So I'm sure there's a lot of things I could do that like could get more views or are more clickable, but I'm just doing whatever I want and getting strange and wacky, and hopefully people appreciate that, but it's giving me the autonomy of sort of just to do whatever I want, I guess.
Yeah, I think you've really like achieved that, and it's neat how they can hit so many points. There's one that you did where it also had this really beautiful, like a little bit more serious, but it was still funny though and interesting. But there were these beautiful shots of you in your studio and you are in slow motion and then it cross dissolves you in. I don't know if you know which video I'm talking about. Like it's like so beautiful, and there's these shots of like rolling hands of your studio. Like you just have gorgeous shots. It is very, it's serious in that way. Like
Hmm.
it's professional. And then of course there's this element of humor or whatever. But what kind of like how are you doing some of this? Like what camera do you use? What mics do you use? It's
Yeah.
high quality. Like
So part of my interest with YouTube, like when I was saying from when I was younger, was actually like making videos and filming things like skateboarding and back when I was in middle school. So that passion, videography and cinematography was actually the most consistent like practice and hobby or passion even before painting. So again, whatever I did in my life, I kind of filmed or documented or made videos with my friends. So I was always really into it. So when I started becoming a YouTuber and wanted to do it more and more, and there's a big like, you know, uh, YouTuber cinematography, cultish, group online. So I just have been really interested in videography for a while, and I just love to do it. So I go a little overkill. So it's all, very professional cameras, and it's been like a snowball for years. So I've started with lesser cameras, but now I have a bunch of cameras and I have a big editing setup. And that's like, again, the job is like making the videos, is editing. So I tell people, I've said this a zillion times, I'm behind my computer equal, if not more, than I'm behind, a canvas painting. So the job really is making videos. So I go really ham, and it's another creative outlet, doing the slow-mo shots and composition, which has a lot of parallels to painting, like lighting, doing all that stuff. So it's just very fun. It's just a whole nother creative outlet for me for sure. But again, no one really cares sometimes when you're on YouTube. You appreciate it, and I love that, and people do, I think, like it, but you know, not many people are watching the whole video. So it is a little overkill in the sense of like time and energy, but it's like a piece of artwork in itself, I think. Every video, again, the pie chart of intention, it's like making this video is me making something creatively. So that's a nice rant.
yeah, I can totally see that. It's kind of like your passion. Like you obviously like making the videos and it's like a creative outlet. And yeah, they are so beautiful. And yeah, you have super high tech like tech stuff now. Do you have any suggestions for someone like starting out like me? I made a video not too long ago and I put quite a bit of effort into it, unfortunately. And then someone pointed out there was a comment that was like, it looks like this video was filmed by a potato.
Potato,
Oh
nice.
my
I love potatoes. I
God.
mean, yeah, the only advice, and I talked to a lot of kids or young adults and people trying to like do social media, and if I were starting right now, and this is the truth, I would only use my iPhone. And
Really?
because they're so good, it's so instant, it's in your pocket, the quality is there. Lighting is more important than like cameras,
Right.
but just for the sheer efficiency and the quality, it just has so many goods versus bads. I mean, obviously, if you want to go really pro, you get all these cameras, but then there's just like a million other things you have to deal with post and like editing. But I
Yeah.
would just use the iPhone. I mean, long form and short form, it's just like the all around best one. I mean, yeah, it's just like what you're willing to put in effort. The editing is very cumbersome. It takes a lot of storage, a lot of file management. You have to constantly, edit on your computer. You need a decently fast computer to edit big videos. I mean, you could do anything now. Everything's pretty good in this day and age, but it's just another element to, remove you from uploading and sharing things. But the iPhone's really great. And I don't know what you were filming on for someone to say a potato, but I'm sure,
Well,
you know,
actually, I was using my iPhone, but I think what the problem was is the lighting, because the iPhone can get kind of like not too good when the lighting's kind of dim. And I think the lighting
yes,
is like really bad. So you're right. It's almost like I just need really good lighting. And then
totally.
that,
It's all about lighting. And like
yeah.
the general theory of all cameras, even the most professional ones, low light, everything struggles. Cameras are better than others, but as long as it's bright, like I'm sitting in front of windows, the sun's not even glaring at me. It's just like the residual diffusion, and there's like a lot of light. So this camera on my computer is actually
Looks
doing
good.
great because there's a lot of light just ambiently. So for your
Totally.
eyes, it's the same thing. Just need a lot of light, but other than that, it should be great and 4K. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
million videos online of like people doing side by side comparisons with this camera, iTeen 14 Pro Max, and then like my
Yeah.
$5,000 Sony camera, and it's like very hard to tell the difference,
Oh,
which
that's
is crazy,
comforting. Yeah.
So
That's
again, if I'm starting over, I would use an iPhone.
yeah, that's totally like good to know. You mentioned there's some like maybe like communities of like YouTubers figuring
Mhm.
this out. Do you have any suggestions of ones that people could geek
Oh,
in?
there's so many. There's like Peter McKinnon, there's Gerald Undone, Potato Jet. There's like a zillion. It's so funny. That's why I love YouTube. It's because like
Totally.
there's so many niche creators um that are like making videos about how to be a YouTuber. Like they're YouTubers about how
Totally.
to be a YouTuber, and they show
Totally.
tips about equipment, about everything. So there's a million others. Those are just some I fired off in my head. But yeah, if you just type in like, creator equipment 2024, iPhone setup, like, how it is. Like, it's just a search engine. So anything you could possibly search up, there's videos, people making videos. And I will say, there's a lot of good quality videos, especially if you're just looking for some information that don't get a lot of views, and people still find a lot of value from it. So like,
That's true.
or this like idea about filming or whatever, like I'll still click on videos that have like 600 views from creators because just like you, they're amazing artists or they know what they're doing, but they're just happen to just start out their YouTube channel and don't get a lot of views, but the value and the quality is still great. So
Oh, that's nice to hear.
I'm
Thank
serious. I mean, it's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. Um, yeah, and then, well, what about mics? Actually, that's another huge problem area for me, especially because now my iPhone doesn't have a jack for a mic. Like, so I noticed that your videos have this really nice blend between like the talking head or whatever, and then like the voiceover,
Right.
and your audio sounds exactly the same between both. How
That it's
in the
funny you
world?
say that. Yeah. And I think it's arbitrarily close, but they do sound a little different because they are just different mics. Um but I think it's enough to no one really knows. Again, it's me being a psycho as the editor, seeing the different audio files and hearing it with like intense headphones. But yeah, I'm just using like I have a lavalier most of the time for like my camera, like on person, like a lav that just
Yeah.
connects so that it's like good wherever I am. I don't have to be close to the camera. And then when I'm editing for voiceovers, I just have like a mic that plugs into my computer, and it's like
Oh,
a decently good mic. But that's all I do. But again, there's like $50 Yeti mics online that plug into your USB. It's like really good quality. Your voice memos on your iPhone, again, it's actually really good. And then you can just like
yeah.
airdrop that. Um, and again, it's like when you're recording audio, you just not need to be not in like a echoey room, and like this room is actually really
Right.
echoey bad. Um, but
Oh,
there's ways to just make, audio quality a little more decent. I don't know if that
the
answers.
lavalier mic
Take
that you.
everything I say with a grain of salt, please,
Oh,
because
yeah. Well, I
I
mean, you're doing
know,
really good. So I know we're all just figuring
no.
these things out and it's not the final word on these matters, but
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like
yeah,
your videos are
yeah.
really good. They're definitely a way higher quality than mine. The lavalier mic that you have, is it like so it's not like a plug-in one, right? Because our phones don't have a jack anymore. Like or what I used to have a lavalier with a cord, right? And then I got one that I think was Bluetooth, but for some reason I could never get it to like
Oh,
sync.
really?
I don't know. What kind of lavalier
So
mic?
my lavalier is pretty expensive, like professional one that goes to my computer. So there's like a trans or my camera. So there's a transceiver that connects to my camera, and then my lavalier is like wireless or like wired, but it connects to the transceiver and then it bakes that audio into the camera. So the
Oh,
live audio syncs immediately with the camera audio.
oh, that's nice.
But I also have other ones that sort of record separately for redundancy, and then that you could just bring and synchronize on the other audio if you want that. But there's different
Oh,
ways to do it. But also like there's labs that plug into your here and then go up your shirt, and you could use it and then it will just record the voice memos. So there's a bunch of different things online. I have that as well. Million.
hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. And then yeah, like what kind of like I noticed you use a lot of different shots. I like the like blend that you have from like the talking head to like some time lapse and some videos of you in the studio moving around and I mean you basically just use all of it, but do you want to talk a bit about the types of different shots that you're blending?
Totally. Yeah, I think like part of like the idea, especially if we're talking about like engagement and retention, is to kind of keep the pace a little like going. And this is something different that I wasn't always good at. Like I'm such like a romantic or whatever traditionalist in the sense that I like sort of the slow, just talking. I could talk forever, or like a bunch of slow-mo shots in a row for like a minute, just like sort of like milking a beautiful shot. But that's not good for retention. So like actually in the last 2, 3 years, I've really increased my pacing, and that's like everyone's doing it, which is like a lot more, even like 40-second sequences. So it's like have an update, talk about what you're doing, why you're doing it, and then on to do it, and then do something else, and then talk about that, or switch the sequence really quickly. So the structure of a video is like sort of like that now. It's split up into like 45 or 1 minute sequences. It's like the intro, and then starting the project, and then doing it, and then doing an update, and then switching a shot, or going into the actual painting, talking about it, overlay with voiceover. So there's all these like puzzle pieces in the
Yeah.
structure of video, and you just need to shoot a lot to get a lot of like B-roll. You need to talk, and it's like it's different. Every video is different. Every video is paced differently. But that's in general how I kind of think of it. I almost when I'm recording and editing, like I'll talk during these updates or whatever part of the sequence will be like 2.5 minutes, and I'll always cut it down because I'm like, no one's trying to listen to me talk for 2 minutes straight. It's just they're gonna click off the video, or they're gonna skip forward. So I always have to cut it down, and that's part of like the editing process now. It's like doing a rough edit and then seeing it and then being like, all right, what can I take out? And that's sad because I'm like, it's all good. I want to keep all the juiciness or the shots or me ranting, but at the end of the day, what can I take out? What can be removed to make it flow, but also just pace a little better, if that makes sense.
That's a good, like really good point. Well, you mentioned that you don't like try too hard with like YouTube. So as far as titles and thumbnails, you're not going over the top as far as like what.
I try very hard, but
Yeah,
I don't like to go like the insane clickbait route. And like I
right.
even do. And like I'm maybe I'm sounding what's the word? Anyways, but like I definitely do try. I mean, you have to think of it. It's like if you're putting in 2 weeks of a painting and then you're editing for a week, you know, dozens and dozens of hours of work, like I want to do everything I possibly can to make the video do well. And if it's just coming up with a title or a thumbnail, yeah, I'm going to put a lot of effort into it. It doesn't always happen, but what I'm saying is I don't like lean into like the crazy clickbait, which is
Yeah.
if you're a business, you know, if you're just being rational, if you're taking all the emotion out of it, if you're just a business, you want to make your business perform and be as successful as possible. And that means getting views and making money and getting possible sponsorships. So if you're just trying to get views, yeah, you could just do the really clickbaity things. And like even me saying this now, it's like, why aren't I doing that? If I can get way more views doing like really wacky, like gimmicky things, why wouldn't I do that? Well, because there's a part of me holding on that wants to, you know, still be taken seriously, whatever that means, because it doesn't really matter. It's just all these things. But I think the truth of it, and this is a crazy rant, is like no one really cares. And people do, and people love my videos, and it's so nice, and people are really generally positive, but you know, they're watching a million other videos also, and they're going throughout their day. And so it's like, what am I insecure? Is it my insecurity that's making me not like blast more crazy videos to get more crazy views? You know, are people going to really judge me? Do people really care? Is the seriousness of my career and profession really being like, you know, weighed by the value of my thumbnails and titles? I don't know. So
Yeah,
that's food
yeah.
for thought, but I
Yeah.
definitely do try.
And so what are some of the things that like that you do like already that can help like make a thumbnail and a title like good? Like how do you and then what are some of the clickbaity ones that maybe you don't do?
I'll look at my channel right now. I just uploaded a video last night, which is like a weird time because I had to get something out for a sponsor, which is not my preferred time to upload. But the title was My Art Studio in New York City Became the First to Create This. And I'm like this with like a bunch of easels behind me. So that gives like some mysterious idea. Am I really the only studio in New York City to do this, which was the painting sessions? It's
Yeah,
like the video about my painting sessions. No,
I
I'm not
saw
the
the video.
first.
Yeah, it's really good.
Yeah, thanks. It's not the first. I'm not the first person to do this, and I talk in the video how like there's seldomly opportunities to paint and blah blah blah. But so that's like an example. It's like it's not
Mhm.
untruthful at all. It's very close to the truth, but it's pushing the truth a little and to make just a very snippety little title. You know, how to paint a realistic face in 5 steps. This painting changed my life. You
Yeah.
know, how did I learn to draw anything? Watching her paint will change how you see art. All these like super like mediumly dramatic things, and those do seem to do well. But you know, I try to replicate those ideas a lot, and some of them don't do well either. So it's a lot of luck. I mean, it's so funny. It's the most nebulous conversation to talk about, like the algorithm. It's like, what is the algorithm? You know, it's like the deity flow of like content. It's like who knows?
It's true.
But people are better at it than others, and there's definitely strategy to it. It's just really different for each niche. And I think also in general, painting and art or like fine art, you know, things I'm doing like oil painting or like trying to start like this art school. It's like very niche to begin with. So the
Right.
sort of, bucket and pool of people that are interested in those videos is already smaller than almost not all. There's other smaller things, but in general, like lifestyle vlogs or like exercising or a million other things, you know, people are watching videos for. It's just hard, but It's still
Yeah.
fun, and there's still a giant community in any facet on YouTube, I think.
Yeah, for sure. That's true about how it is like a smaller niche, but still you found like a big chunk of it, I would say. Um, yeah, and then I do love how you like manage to kind of make it entertaining and sort of funny, kind of lighthearted, and still like informative. Um, I don't know. I wonder if you and you also I've noticed, share your struggles like a lot, sometimes like, oh, this part was hard for me or whatever. And I think that makes it really, that can pull people in like you can relate just like, oh, he's not just having an easy time from start to finish. Um, yeah, do you want to, I don't know if you have anything to say about any of
Yeah,
the
I
things.
think like again, like I'm not here to be like the most inspiring person, like change the world with how I think and make art, but it's like I definitely want to be like a beacon for, I think my channel tends to a lot of beginners and younger people who are interested in art. And so if I can like inspire or make something accessible, like traditional oil painting isn't that glamorous for a lot of people, and like it's not as accessible for a lot of people, but I'm showing that it can be and that it's actually really fun. Those are things that like I'm just interested in, and it's not some like old drab like you go to a museum, you're like, oh, look at that oil
Yeah,
painting. It's like
exactly.
it could be fun and exciting, and so I think I have a lot of things I'm not great at, and I have a lot of things that I think I'm good at that I don't, that maybe I'm really not, like my ego. But what I think I am really good at is like sharing my passion. And then, passion is sort of contagious. So I think that's what I try to infiltrate and insert into all my videos is just like how excited I am about making things, and it could be fun. And yeah, you don't have to take it seriously. Like I'm also going to be the biggest hardo about a painting because I want to be the best I could possibly be, but I also don't have to be like a lunatic about it. And it could be fun, it could be goofy. So I think that's just what I try to do with the videos, and sharing struggles is why wouldn't you? It's so real, and it's like that's why again why I like painting just blanketly is because it's like this puzzle. It's like this problem solving creative puzzle. And I think a lot of people, I think I actually have a different view on art than most fine artists. Like there is a lot of like self-expression in a way that's hard to articulate because it's so personal. But the reason I love painting is because it's like a very like engineering style of puzzle making. Like it's just problem solving, and it's like, how do you make this look like this? Here are your tools, here are strategies and techniques, and then you go and do it, and then the process is really fun and fulfilling. Um, and there's different projects like that are more graphic and representational fun. But a lot of the oil painting, like like the painting behind you, it's like you're gonna paint these petals, you're gonna paint this, scene in the distance. It's like you're either gonna make it look like that or you're not. How do you make it look like that? And the content around it and what it represents is obviously your prerogative, but when it comes down to just the process and the application of paint, there's a lot of nuance and it's like a language, and that's why I love it. So that's a lot what I talk about, um, and what gets me amped up. Every week, make a goal. It doesn't need to be so crazy and intense that's unachievable, but like every week, I want to post 3 TikToks, maybe 2 of them in process shots, maybe one talking about a new project or reviewing old work or whatever. And then you just hit these goals, which are super not that hard. And then over the course of 2, 3 months, you're like, wow, I just made, 40 videos. Maybe none of them do well, but it takes the 41st to
Yeah.
get some things. So that's like a way to digest it, I think, that's smart, where you're not going to like murder yourself.
That's true. At least you've done the goal, so that's a success.
Yeah. And then
That's
like
cool.
look at it like this way. It's like worst case scenario, you have a lot of fun making funny videos and sharing them. What's
Yeah.
the loss? There's no loss. Like you're losing time, but you're an artist. You love to paint. So yeah, you're putting a little more effort to film, but worst case scenario, you just have a good time and the people who follow you like it also. Best case scenario is that they blow up and you get a lot of opportunity from it. So it seems to me like win-win. There's no net loss. Obviously, it's how much you want to do, and you put pressure on yourself, and you do feel sad if you do all this work for 3, 4 months and nothing comes out of it. But it's all perspective, and I think that's a good way, and again, a digestible way to like think about trying to strategize content is goal objective based thinking per week, per month.
Yeah, I think that's such a good like point and a really good point to end with. Where can people find out more about you and all of your things?
Well, I'm Slew. My name is Sam Lewis, but my moniker is Slew. So on YouTube it's Slew, Slew, and then Instagram it's Slew P because I tried to get Slew and I couldn't, so I just added a random letter. That's that story. So it's SLEWP on Instagram. And yeah, hopefully I didn't sound too ranty or too know-it-all because I don't know it all. And I love talking about this, and I super happy that we got to talk today. And I hope you come back to the studio soon, Christy.
Yes, me too. And for people who are interested, you offer these really amazing life drawing sessions for anyone
Yep.
who's in work. Yeah, they're so fun, and I'll definitely be back soon.
Yeah, so I just posted more. So seriously, I mean, come soon. The new schedule is just posted, but thanks so much.
Thank
And
you. So good
yeah,
to talk to you, and I'll see you soon.
okay.
Thanks, Sam.
Bye.
See you later. Bye. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of Down to Art. Thank you so much for being with us.